I'm Miss Mackenzie, and today we are going to make a wall tapestry. And we have 3 different styles of painting on it. The first one is an artist named Helen Frankenthaler. She did a lot of very soft watercolor-like paintings. The next one is Yayoi Kusama, and she is a really cool artist that does a lot of sculptures, but also she does these paintings, and they're all dotted and really fun and wild. So we have that. The next one is a guy named Kandinsky, and he mainly uses line to create his pieces. They have little dowels that have polymer clay on them and some pom-poms. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing you need is your paper. It's going to be divided into 3 equal parts. You're going to need watercolor, crayons, and of course, a pencil. Now the first one that we're going to make is a Helen Frankenthaler painting. She does a lot of watercolor. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to go and make shapes with my pencil very, very, very lightly. And I think I want to put just like a flower like that, kind of. And this one won't take very long. It's very, very simple. So once you have your drawing, you're going to start painting it. So I have my watercolors, just kind of ignore right there. I was kind of experimenting and I didn't realize that my paintbrush was dirty. So make sure that your paints are clean, and you're going to get water and you just start painting. So if you notice, it's not quite soaking in right away, which that's a good thing. So you have some options. If you have a water bottle at home, a spray bottle, you can spray it, and look how cool those colors look now. And then they just kind of start blending together a little bit more, and that's the effect that we want. If you don't have a spray bottle, you can just take a wet paintbrush, a big wet paintbrush, and you can just kind of paint the whole thing just to get it nice and wet. So either a spray bottle or take a paintbrush and make it nice and wet. So we're gonna go in, I'm gonna keep painting this. You can just take your water brush and just kind of push it around. So it'll be abstract, we want it to be abstract. That's the fun of it. Now I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna start adding color right next to it. Be careful, because look, when I start adding it, they're gonna start blending together a little bit. So don't go too wild with it. You wanna be careful that we're keeping them a little bit separated. Unless you want them to blend, you can do that. See how that just blended a little bit? Now it's making a green, because yellow and blue make green. All right, and then I'm gonna let this dry now. So I'm gonna start the middle one. The next painting will be like Yayoi Kusama, and you're going to put dots in it to fill it up. And she makes a lot of really cool stuff with dots. So you're gonna think of something that you wanna draw. So I am going to make more flowers. Since I put a flower up on the top, I'm gonna put a flower on the middle, and I'm gonna keep with this theme. Yeah, I like that. So now I'm gonna go in and I'm going to pick what colors I want to use for the flowers, and I'm going to then decorate it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my crayon, I'm going to trace it, I'm going to make this a little bit thicker on the outside, and I'm going to put dots around it, because she does a lot of really fun dots, and there's a lot of dots in her work. I'm going to put circles. If you look, the dots are going around the shape of the flower still. Awesome, and I'm going to put a dot in the middle. I'm just going to put little lines in there. I'm going to do the same with the other 2. And then I'm going to fill the whole background with lines and dots. And now I'm going to go in and I'm going to add some of the colors that I put in the background on these flowers. So I'm going to kind of fill in some of these dots. Her stuff is very, very, very busy. And what I mean by busy is there's a lot going on. So I'm going to even add even more dots to it, just in the background. And last but not least, time for coloring. And you might want to take a wet paintbrush, just kind of add it. Wherever the crayon's at, it's not going to paint on top because we have that wax on the crayon. You notice I'm going over it again and again and again. because we need to get it wet before it actually soaks through. Now that it's wet, I can add more paint to it. There we go, perfect. And then the third, we are going to do Kandinsky painting. So we're going to do lots and lots of squares, circles, whatever you want to do, with lots of lines. So I want you to pick out 5 colors that you want to use. And what you're going to do is you're going to create a pattern. So you can do, like I said, any shape that you want. In his painting, he uses squares, but you don't have to do squares. I am going to do circles. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up these colors, and I'm going to make one with that. I'm going to put it on the back, grab the next one, and we're going to make a pattern. We're going to keep going with this pattern, going on the inside of it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a different color. I'm going to pick, let's use these 2 colors since I already have them out. I'm going to add more to the background. See how they're kind of overlapping? I'm just going to go and I'm going to keep, I like it. Now it's time to paint. I'm going to add the spray or just take a paintbrush, whatever you want to do. And there we go. And then we let it dry. And while this is drying, we are going to take the bamboo skewers off so we can add decorations to them with polymer clay. And we also have yarn to make some pom-poms. So we're gonna make some beads with this clay. And you wanna think about how it slips in here, because you want this to still be able to slip in, but then maybe we wanna keep it to actually stay once it's finished. So we're gonna talk about how to do that, because we're gonna make end pieces for these. So I'm going to make 4. I'm gonna make 4 balls. I'm gonna roll them. You can roll them in your hand or you can roll them on the table, whatever is easiest for you. I think what I wanna do is I wanna have the purple on the top, and I'm gonna put the blue on the bottom. So this obviously won't go through like that. So what we're gonna do is, I'm just gonna bake it, the skewer, but then I'll just slip this off, this through when it's done, and glue it back on there. Don't worry about that just yet, I'll re-explain it later. But just for now, know that these are going to come on and off, then we'll glue it together when it's done. And now I want to add decorations to them. And you can do whatever you want. I'm gonna make a bunch of little itty bitty spheres. And then I just wanna stick them on here. For this one, I think I'm gonna do something a little bit different. I'm gonna keep all these off to the side. I think I wanna make little flower petals. Put some flowers on this. Spiral to this. And push it together so it stays. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Okay, we're gonna put these in the oven at 275 for 15 minutes. And while we are cooking these, we're gonna work on the pom-poms. So make sure you have yarn, scissors, and a fork. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna have a long string that we just stick right here, okay? So right in the middle of the fork. Make sure it's nice and long. And then what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take another piece of yarn and we're just gonna hold it there and we're gonna wrap it around. If you want bigger pom-poms, you can use a bigger fork. If you want it really, really full, you can add a lot of yarn to it. If you want it a little bit of a less full pom-pom, you can use less yarn. Okay, we're gonna cut this. Then we're gonna take this string that we have down here, this long one that we put on there earlier, we're gonna bring it over, just on both sides, then we're gonna tie it nice and tight. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. And another one, squeeze, 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 squeeze. We're gonna take this and we're gonna cut these loops. Be careful when you're cutting. Watch your fingers. You might need help for this part. Fluff it out. And I'm gonna go ahead and make a couple more of them. All right, we have our pom-poms, and now it's time to put it all together. So these are out of the oven, and so this side is pretty strong on there, so I don't have to worry about that coming off. And this is the side with the square. Let's see if this side comes off. I have to tug a little bit, but yep, comes right off. Kind of have to push with your thumb and pull with your other hand just to kind of slide it off. And then you're gonna take some glue and glue it together. So I have a big old jar of white glue, so I just put a little bit of glue in this lid here. You can take a paintbrush. But if you have a white glue that you can just squeeze in here, that would be so much easier than what I'm doing. Just put the glue in there, and then you just slide it on. So I'm gonna put this one at the top. Stick that on there. Slide it through the bottom. All right, and now you can add the final touches. I'm gonna go in with these pom-poms, and I'm gonna tie these to the bottom. That's why we wanted the long string. Make sure you have these extra long just in case you want to do this too. But I'm just going to go and I'm going to put this on here, and I'm just going to tie it with one of the two cords. There we go. And then I'm going to add some stuff to the top. And I have two different strings on here. What I'm going to do with these is I'm just going to wrap it around here. I'm just going to take some of this glue on there. I'm just going to put it on there and twist. Kind of stuck on there, so I can just kind of start wrapping it like this. Squeeze down, and then the glue will make it stick. I'm going to take the string and tie it on this side. Have it kind of go up like this. Tie it on this side. And then I'm just going to go and add a couple more pom-poms to it, and I'll show you the final piece after.
And here is the final result. Happy creating, y'all!